Hello everyone and welcome back to Nomifactory. We've already hit 200 subs on the channel. This is actually insane, like wow. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support and all the love for the series so far. I hope you guys enjoy today's episode because it's gonna be a good one. I know it's been a little bit of time since the last episode, had a bit of a stomach bug to work through the last week, so episode kind of got pushed up by a week, and it's kind of a big one with lots of hours of work, but yeah, I hope it's worth it, and thank you for your patience, guys. Let's get into it. Last episode, we got quite a lot done. We set up our basic cobblestone works to supply us with a few staples. The pyrolyzed oven was added to our arsenal in order to produce some phenol, which we used in an elaborate scheme to cross over into medium voltage and the next tier of electronic circuits. Our episode ended with us baking a cake to head into the nether for the first time, gathering up some glowstone, allowing us to make our first loot fabricators in deep mob learning, which is now supplying us with the polymer clay needed for all DML automation to come. Okay, maybe not all DML automation, but for the foreseeable future. I didn't actually do that much in between episodes. I did, however, add 2 more DML machines to our line, producing some iron and nickel. I also added the steam grinder, as a few of you guys might have suggested. This allows us to grind 8 items at a time, which is much faster than a macerator, like seriously. And it runs off just a tiny amount of steam. The only downside is we don't get the byproducts. Not that we're too big into that for now. So yeah, it's been pretty nice to be able to use this. Alrighty, let's get started with today's plans. Our goals today are pretty simple. I've grown lonely here in the void dimension, so it's time to start our main base. Step 1 is going to be to locate and prepare the area to start our base. Step 2, gather the necessary materials we need in order to start building. And step 3, start moving in. For our new base, I scouted out the biggest lake I could possibly find, and I decided to build an underground water base. You see, I've got a little bit of redeeming to do. My last 2 water bases were left very much incomplete. So I started out by mapping out a circle and removing quite a bit of water. This process was by no means flawless, and we definitely learned a lot, and there's probably easier ways to do it. Our circle is going to serve 2 purposes. It's going to be the main entrance into our base, but it's also going to be where we're going to launch our rockets from. So I think that could be pretty cool. My next move was to create a square that's about 3 by 3 chunks big, surrounding our entrance circle. This was a bigger pain than I actually cared to admit. It took so long underwater. I might have drowned once or twice. With the outline for our base center now filled in, it was time to start clearing out the center. I'm aware there are probably many ways to do this faster once again, but like I mentioned in episode 1, our first priority is having fun, and I enjoyed this. Plus, it makes for a cool time lapse you guys get to enjoy. Now that we've got this whole place dug out, it's time to prep the resources we're going to need in order to make this place look great. So we're going to need a few components. We're going to need stone, skystone, concrete, cyan stained glass, and white lamps. Let's start with the most basic one, and that's going to be stone. We're already producing an infinite amount of cobblestone, so we're just going to add a basic electric furnace to our line. I'm just going to pop this down here. We're going to set the input filter to accept cobblestone, and there we go. That's going to be producing infinite amounts of stone for us. I'm just going to pop down a drawer. Alright, that's our first block sorted. We've got our stone. The next thing we're going to want to automate is going to be concrete powder, and we're going to need tons of concrete. So we already have unlimited amounts of sand and gravel, but we're going to need bone meal. Our best way to get that is through bones using our loot fabricator with deep mob learning. So I'm going to set up another system of DMLs over here. Gonna make sure these have power. We're going to place down our simulation chamber and our loot fabricator. Okay, we want to filter our inserts on pulsating polymer clay. Insert enabled. Same for this side. We're going to make sure our skeleton data model is inserted, and there we go, this should be running. So currently we're struggling a little bit with power up here. The easiest solution right now is to upgrade our dynamos with reinforced upgrade kits and hardened upgrade kits. These steam dynamos at the top are already on the hardened level, so we can upgrade them with reinforced. They're currently producing 240 RF per tick. If we add one of these, this now has the ability to produce 400 RF per tick, and it looks like the steam is still keeping up with that, so that's beautiful. So that means we're currently producing 1600 RF per tick. Guys, I cannot tell you how many iterations this thing had to run through with a 10% chance to finally give us a pristine skeleton matter. That's then going to make its way down into our loot fabricator that needs a basic item filter. We want to say bone. Oh, that gives 64? That's crazy. Alright, and then we want to extract our bone, and that's going to be stored up here. I just remembered these only extract from the back, so let's make sure extract's always active. And there we go. Alright, so that's bone done. We already have 580 bone. That's crazy. I'm going to grab a stack of this, and we're going to process this into bone meal. You guys mentioned I can use a steam grinder, which is basically a massive macerator that runs off just a little bit of steam, and it actually processes 8 items at a time. So, wow, look at all this bone meal. That is crazy. Look at the speed. Alright, it's time to make our first bit of concrete. That's just going to be the bone meal with some sand and gravel. And this gives us white concrete powder. So I've just hooked up a little ender var on our chemical bath over here, so we're going to just pop that in there. I think it creates 1 per second. Yeah, it's a decent rate. I've actually got a chest down here that I need to be able to access. And there we go, white concrete. I'm going to let these cook up while we do other stuff. The next block, we're going to need a cyan stained glass. We can use lazurite and a bit of cactus green. Our solution right now for cactus is just going to be some Nomi pennies. I know we can grow this easily on sand or snad, but honestly this is just a little bit easier for now. And then we can throw this cactus in a furnace to get some cactus greens. Combine that up with our lazurite, and that gives us all the cyan dye we'll need. We can then pop this in a crafting table, and there we go, a full stack of cyan stained glass already. Our next one is going to be for our white lamps. This comes at a little bit of an issue because we need to make black quartz, and from what I understand you can get black quartz core only from the moon. So an alternative is autoclave some crushed black quartz at low voltage, and we can get crushed black quartz by electrolyzing in a medium voltage machine quartzite dust. So it looks like we're heading back into the nether. Let's go. Okay, now that we have our quartzite dust, I'm going to start throwing these in the macerators. We need to macerate them twice and then run them through a centrifuge. Alright, that's going to give us crushed quartzite ore. We can run this again in the macerator. And 20 seconds later, we get impure piles of quartzite. We can now take this and finally throw that in our centrifuge. And that should give us the quartzite dust. Perfect. Alright, with our quartzite turned into quartzite dust, we now need to throw this in a medium voltage electrolyzer. So let's craft up one of those. We gotta make sure to hook this up to medium voltage. I think we might be able to sneak it in back here. Oh, would you look at that, we actually have one already. Nice. Alright, I'm gonna pop this in here, and that's gonna give us our crushed black quartz. And our last step is to throw that in the autoclave with some water. And there we go, our first bit of black quartz. Right, in order to make our lamps, we need palest crystals. And for that, we're actually gonna need the atomic reconstructor. Now this thing is a little bit, I wouldn't say out of our reach, but it's a bit of a workaround. In order to make our atomic reconstructor, our biggest issue is to actually get flawless emeralds. And I found a way to get these flawless emeralds. I went and did some digging in the nether, as you guys just saw. And we can turn the nether ore into crushed emerald dust, which we can then send through an ore washing plant, which gets us purified emerald ore, and we can send that through a basic sifting machine, giving us a 15% chance to get a flawless emerald. So let's see if we can get a few with this method. Macerating this gives us the crushed emerald ore, which we then have to throw into a ore washing plant. Just gotta make sure we have to add a circuit in here. Alright, the last step is to take our purified emerald ore and pop them in a basic sifting machine, which is a 20-second operation, and that's going to give us the 15% chance to get our flawless emeralds. So I guess now we just wait. Alright, after letting this thing run for quite a bit of time, we actually have 17 flawless emeralds, so that's going to be more than enough. Lovely. Alright, so if we take a look at our atomic reconstructor recipe, we're going to need some lead plates, an aluminum casing, which is the new black quartz with some aluminum plates. We've got that going. So it's going to be the lead. I really need to keep a better eye on my quests, because man, I'm kind of all over the place with that. Then we're going to need 2 of these MV emitters. And then the last thing we need is going to be this emerald lens. Alright, the last thing we need is an emerald lens. Now, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole to try and get emerald plates, but that ends up leading to a path we can't achieve yet. So I actually realized we can also pop an exquisite emerald in a lathe. And we managed to actually get one of those when we were sifting our emerald dust earlier. We got exactly one of those. So let's pop that in our lathe. And that is going to take 120 seconds. I'll be back. And there we go, 1 emerald lens. We're now finally able to craft the atomic reconstructor. Now that we've finally got our atomic reconstructor, it's time to hook this thing up. I'm going to place our last energetic alloy over here. We're going to place the atomic reconstructor. It looks like it's going to shoot out this way. It needs a block. Oh my gosh, it just fired on its own. I thought redstone won't deactivate. Hold a redstone torch to toggle. Okay, throw some lapis. And there it is. Okay, let me get a redstone torch to toggle that thing. Okay, I don't exactly know how this works. There we go. Wait, that's on pulse mode. Okay, I think now it needs a... Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect. All right, there we have it. Well, that was easy. A stack of palest crystals. We can make a ton of lamps for that. Beautiful. Now that we've got our palest crystals, we can finally craft some white lamps. And these look pretty nice. They actually don't need any power to run. You just right click them with the hand. So this is going to be like the main light source in our base. The next resource we need to get while that's processing up, in order to make our skystone stairs and blocks, we need skystone. So we're going to have to make our meteorite compass. In order to do that, we can actually follow along our quest book. We need to get the charging quartz quest. So for that, we need to get some Certus quartz. Luckily, we can just smelt some nether Certus quartz dust. We got tons of that earlier inside of a charger. So I'm going to get the resources and we can craft this up. I believe this runs off RF as well, so we can pop that down here in our line of machines. That is actually getting energy, so we should be able to pop in a Certus quartz and it gets charged. Beautiful. Quest complete. The last thing we need are void crystals, and we can make those with the atomic deconstructor by zapping some coal. And then we can craft that into our skystone meteorite compass. Now this little compass is pretty neat because it will point in the direction of the nearest meteor, because sometimes these meteors are actually underground, so we can use this to find where exactly meteors are. Alright, we're pretty close to actually having the resources we need to build. I've placed most of the resources into some drawers over here, and with that, all our resources are now gathered up. It's finally time to start building. It might not look like it, but that was many hours of work, and I'm really proud of it. Let's go take a closer look. Creative building is really not my strong point in Minecraft, but I wanted to challenge myself and do something outside of my comfort zone. After all, it's the only place where one grows. I've spoken a lot this episode, but not really about what we're building here and what the space is going to be used for. Well, this is going to be our central hub. Mainly used for three things: storage, AE2 and a rocket launching facility. From this main area we will expand into machine rooms and power facilities as our demand for space grows. We didn't end up moving much this episode, but it's been around 30 hours of Minecrafting and editing, so that'll have to wait for the next episode. Our plan is to eventually get weekly videos out, but for the moment I can only work on these videos after hours, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave some love in the comments and make sure you're subbed. See you guys in the next episode.